Howdy, folks. I'm Scientific Scylla, skillfully scaling scary slopes.
I'm Amber.
And here are more scary slopes of Reddit for us to scale. Let's get started. Alright, folks, and our first letter is titled, Am I a jerk for prioritizing my plans over my mother-in-law needing to go to the hospital? I'm a 33-year-old female, and my husband, James, is 35. My mother-in-law is 61. She has 4 children. My husband is the youngest. And for whatever reason, my husband is the only one she goes to for anything. Whether she needs money, a ride, help doing yard work, help literally with anything, actually. It has been the cause of tension in my marriage several times, and I admittedly threatened a divorce probably 6 months ago due to it because we had a newborn at home, and his mom, for whatever reason, all of a sudden needed him 20 times more than normal after I gave birth, easily 4 days a week. So I threatened to divorce. He stepped up to the plate. Now he only helps his mom maybe once every couple of weeks. She never comes here. Met my 7-month-old maybe for 0.2 seconds. It has been great since that point, honestly. Anyways, on to the issue. My best friend moved out of state 5 years ago and is back in town for 3 nights. We planned to go out to a restaurant in town around 5 p.m. yesterday evening and then out for a few drinks afterwards at my father's pub. This has been planned for almost 2 months in advance. My husband had our baby. It was my first night away since giving birth. Literally never even went to grocery store without the baby. But around 7 to 7:30 p.m., my husband calls me saying that he needs to bring his mom to the hospital and asked me to come home so I can take the baby. And he can take my car, which his is currently not working. I asked what she needed to go to the hospital for, and he said, "Does it really matter right now? I need you to get home." I told him it does matter, actually, because depending on the level of urgency, she literally has 4 other options. One of her other 3 kids, who lives even closer than her, or an ambulance. He admits to me that she didn't tell him why she needed to go to the hospital, but at this point in time, he was in a panic. So I should come home so that he can rush out. I said something to the effect of, "It's convenient that my first night away from home since giving birth, and now all of a sudden your mother needs urgent hospitalization. I think that I will actually stay right here. Maybe you should figure out what your mother needs to go there for and get back to me." I then hung up. He probably calls me back 15 minutes later or so, and he's mad and he's raising his voice at me. Says that apparently his mom tripped and hurt her ankle, and that's why she needed to go to the hospital. I asked if she was able to walk, and he said yes, she is. So I told him to call one of his siblings. I shouldn't have to cut my night short with my best friend, whom I haven't seen in years, because his mom wants him to cater to her every move. I went home around midnight. When I get home, he is mad, saying that I prioritized my plans over a family emergency. I told him that I really didn't think that this was an emergency, and asked him if she went to the hospital. He said no, that she is fine, but that's not the point. I argued that that was the whole point, actually, and I told him that I was glad that I didn't ruin my night over a fake emergency. I then took over with the baby and brought her to bed. He's still mad at me, saying that this changes everything, because me putting priority on fun time over what could have been an emergency makes him look at me differently. I am unfazed, honestly, but am I the jerk? Alright, folks, what do you think?
No, not the jerk. If it was a serious medical emergency, they needed to call an ambulance. If it's anything less than a serious medical emergency, one of the other kids who was closer to her could have taken her. This whole scheme would have taken much longer for OP to come, pick up the baby, and then hubby to take her, than if she just went with one of her other kids to begin with. This was very clearly a power play.
Yeah, well, one, you shouldn't go to the hospital unless it's a medical emergency, unless your country where you live is different, right? I mean, in the U.S., I'm assuming that this is the U.S., emergencies are for life-threatening emergencies are for the emergency room only. Everything else is urgent care or walk-in care or scheduling something with your primary care doctor. Now, something like a broken bone could be constituted as a medical emergency that might need immediate treatment because that's like an urgent thing. Maybe not necessarily as life-threatening as some things, but because that's like a time-sensitive priority and the amount of pain that people tend to go through, that would be like a medical emergency. Rolling your ankle is something that can wait. It is not a medical emergency. So I agree with Amber here that this seems like a orchestrated thing on the mother-in-law's part so that she could force OP to go home and take care of the kid.
And it sounds like from the comments that OP almost never gets any time to herself. Like, this is one of her first times out without kids since the baby's been born. And like if that's the case, hubby really needs to start stepping up and taking care of the kid more often and not letting his mom come up with emergencies so that Obi has to rush back and save the day.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Xwall says, not the jerk. You seem to be letting husband become mad instead of being mad yourself and demanding answers. Did mother call the husband's siblings? If so, why didn't anyone else take her to the hospital? If others weren't called, why did your mother only call your husband? Why can't mother differentiate between an emergency and a non-emergency? And OP replies, she never calls his sisters for anything at all. She only calls my husband, her only son. None of her daughters have children and are more available than my husband is, but she doesn't care. It's an enmeshment relationship for sure. She treats him like he's her husband, and from my understanding, always has. She doesn't know the difference between an emergency and a non-emergency, I'm convinced. She once thought that she was dying because she had a mysterious black spot on her pinky and went to the ER for it. But when she had too many strokes last year, she didn't go to the hospital until a day later. She's backwards. That's certainly not good. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for telling my son to take the best cupcake when we were at a family dinner? I'm a 33-year-old male and I have a son, a 3-year-old male, and with my wife, a 32-year-old female. We were at her family's house for a family dinner. For dessert, my wife's mother brought out some cupcakes, and they had a Cookie Monster face on top of them. She passed the tray of cupcakes to me, and I brought my son over, who was sitting beside me. I held out the tray to him, and I told him to take the best cupcake, just to teach him to always take what's best whenever possible. He was struggling to find the best, but I just kept encouraging him to take the best cupcake. Later on in the evening, my wife told me that I was being rude with the cupcake thing. She said that it came across as greedy, selfish, and a bit offensive to want to take the best cupcake, and that I should have just assumed that all of the cupcakes were equally as good, and just to take any cupcake and pass the tray along, instead of being overly concerned with taking the best cupcake from the hosts. Am I the jerk for trying to get my son to take the best? Alright folks, what do you think?
I do think Opie's in the wrong here. It's a very strange way, like, just let your kid take a cupcake. And, like, this kind of attitude could breed, like, selfishness and entitlement. All these cupcakes are edible. They don't have to be the prettiest looking to still be a tasty treat. And I think that's a far more valuable lesson.
Yeah. But also, like, best is so subjective, right? There's no definition of what the best cupcake is.
Well, and the pressure on the kid, too. Like, he's also putting the poor little kid in an untenable situation because the kid doesn't have any idea what best means. And dad's just like, pick the best one, pick the best one. And the kid's like, probably like, what do I even do here?
Well, and the kid probably is thinking, well, what does daddy think is the best cupcake, right? As opposed to, like, knowing what they feel is the best cupcake. When the kid is going to take the tray, they're going to take whatever cupcake they think is the best one for them.
Yeah.
Right? Without even, like, that whole encouragement. You've just overcomplicated the whole situation. You, like, if a kid wants a special one with more frosting, they'll look for the one with more frosting, right? Isn't that just the way kids are? And so maybe I think OP is overthinking this. I mean, certainly, like, you shouldn't be teaching your kid to be selfish and entitled, period. But, like, kids are kind of selfish and entitled to start with, so I don't know what he's accomplishing here other than confusing his poor child.
Right, and reinforcing that you always need the best.
Yeah. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Crochet and Mead says, info. In your mind, does teaching your child to take the best, what does this mean to you? Is it best in his eyes or best in your eyes? What are the parameters for best cupcake? Oh, and while we're at it, for more information, have you ever considered how this will affect him in the future? As this type of thing will breed entitlement. If you tell him that he is 100% always entitled to the best of everything, as in school, he's absolutely going to end up in trouble if he refuses to take scissors, an instrument, or whatever that they are handing out, as it isn't the best one. And Think I'm Strong says, what a weird concept to teach a kid. I can just imagine him having a meltdown on the first day of school. Alright folks, and our next letter is titled, Am I a jerk for going to the police immediately when I found out my parents took out debt in my name? My parents took out credit cards and loans in my name. It was fine for them when they were paying the bills, but then they got behind. I don't have the key to the mailbox, so I never saw the bills or anything. I just finished my 3rd year of university, and I was going to move out. That would have required me to get a credit check and stuff like that. The parents freaked out and forbid me from moving out. They said that it was dumb that I would waste money on moving out when I could save money and live at home. They didn't like my boyfriend, so I thought that that was their issue, but no, I was wrong. Well, long story short, I'm about $60,000 in debt because of them. I cannot afford to pay that off. I told them that they need to clear the debt immediately and change the house rules so my boyfriend could spend the night. They said that they didn't have the money to pay off the debt and that I could not strong-arm them into changing the rules of their house. I called my auntie and asked her if I could please come and stay with her for a bit. She let me and asked me a lot of questions. Then she showed me a dozen posts on Reddit about parents messing up their kids' future. I went to the police and I reported it. My parents got arrested and charged. They are furious with me. I know they didn't spend the money on me. I do not know what they spent the money on. I don't care. I feel bad for them, but I'm not letting them mess up my future. Am I the jerk? All right, folks, what do you think? Jerk or not the jerk?
Not the jerk. I mean, what the parents have done is a crime and they deserve to suffer the consequences. OP shouldn't be saddled with $60,000 worth of debt because her parents just didn't have the money they wanted. Like, they crimed. It's their fault. This is what happens.
Yeah, they committed identity theft. And that's really what this boils down to. They shouldn't have done that. And I think that they need to suffer the consequences for that now. It's unfortunate that this is going to cause tension in your relationship, but you're going to find out about this eventually, and it wasn't going to be a good thing. Now, there is a case for parents allowing kids to have be put on a credit card and stuff like that so that they can help build the kids' credit, but this isn't what that involved, right? This was them actually pretending to be OP and doing this for their own enrichment and not to actually help or assist OP.
And then trying to force OP to live with them indefinitely just so that she would never know how, or that just so that they would never know how much debt they were in.
Yeah, exactly. But let me know what you folks think. So anyhow, take care and good luck. And Vernassi says, I'm so confused. How long did you know that this was going on? You said you were fine with it in the beginning. Did they tell you this beforehand? And OP replies, sorry, I meant that they could keep it from me, not that it was actually okay. Alright folks, it is tea time. Grab your beverages of choice. I've got some tea right here, and Amber, she has a joke.
Knock knock.
Who is there?
Fred.
Fred who?
Fred, you have to read more of these vacation knock knocks before the book is finished?
You know, I mean, that was a stretch at very best. It was a very big stretch, Jovial Bobstein. And I have Earl Grey. Alright folks, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Happy special Sunday, folks. And you know what makes it special? You do, and Amber does too.
And Brian does too.
Amber, we need some kind of moral advice and or guidance, and please have it on bad parents.
Don't steal money from your kids.
Don't steal money from your kids. That's some great advice. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.